Good morning, welcome to Breakfast. You're with Charlie State and Naga Munchetty.
Our headlines today. Good morning. The British and Irish Prime Ministers say they're on the pathway to a Brexit deal ahead of more talks today.
The Brexit Secretary, Stephen Barclay, will meet the EU's chief negotiator, Michel Barnier, later.
Our Brussels
The
reporter,
BBC
Adam
and the government need to find a way to save free television licences for people over the age of 75. This according to a group of MPs.
The scheme comes to an end next year, and the Media Select Committee has criticised plans to only give free licences to those claiming pension credit. David Silito has more. Two political donors with links to Donald Trump's private lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, have been arrested on suspicion of trying to funnel foreign money to the Republican Party.
Igor Fruman and Lev Parnas are accused of trying to help Mr Giuliani investigate the family of the former Vice President, Joe Biden, the issue at the centre of impeachment proceedings against President Trump. Here's more from our Washington correspondent, Chris Buckler. The East Midlands and the southwest of England are among the regions that will benefit most from an increase in school funding. The East Midlands and the southwest of England are among the regions that will benefit most from an increase in...
But I think it's just whether you're concentrating, more on what you're doing and,
Got to look in the eye when you do a handshake.
And then I'm
can't bear a limp handshake or someone who doesn't look you in the eye.
Strong handshake. Was that?
Yeah, it actually hurt a little bit, but it's fine.
So you're going to take us through a whole bunch of results, not necessarily leaving people smiling.
I feel more like a weatherman.
Thank you, everyone. 6:23 is the time.
A number of deaths allegedly linked to e-cigarettes in the United States has led to concern over the safety of vaping.
So today the industry is launching a campaign to try to reassure millions of vapers in the UK that it's a safe alternative to smoking. Breakfast, Graham Satchell reports. Yes, a reminder, after 8 o'clock this morning, we will be speaking to Public Health England. If you're a vapor, get in touch, tell us about your experiences, maybe what your concerns are, just the questions you would like to know answers to.
Or maybe if you're a smoker and thinking about vaping as well, and now this has perhaps cast some doubt in your mind. 26 minutes past 6 is the time. Got some great guests this morning. Good morning, you are watching Breakfast with Charlie State and Naga Munchetty.
Time is 6:30. We'll bring you up to date with all the latest news and sport in just a moment.
There's so much.
Good morning. Here's a summary of today's main stories from BBC News. The British and Irish Prime Ministers say they're on the pathway to a Brexit deal ahead of more talks today. Those are the main stories this morning, 6:32. The weather is having a big bearing. You mentioned hoovering again.
No.
It's a theme.
Dyson on my mind, haven't I?
Yeah. There we go.
No.
Thanks, John. See you later on. 6:37 is the time right now. More than 60,000 people are now reported to be fleeing their homes as the Turkish offensive against Kurdish fighters in northeastern Syria continues.
There has been international condemnation of the action. Turkey says it's trying to create a safe zone for Syrian refugees. We can talk to Lloyd Russell. Physical. Do you remember that song?
Do you know, I really wasn't expecting you to do that.
You know what? Neither was I. It's not even 7 o'clock. I've
that
had
in the
3
script?
copies already.
Was that written in the script?
No, I can't. No, just
went completely
just
rogue.
winging it. Why not?
Why are you singing that,
no.
Victoria?
Well, I tell you why.
It is a great song.
There is a good song, and there is a good reason. The reason being HMVs.
So you got sent this from
the man or the woman who has everything. This was special delivery from the Royal Mint a few hours ago, and I've been terrified about losing this. This is, I get it out and buff it up. You thought this was a jacket. No, it's just a buffer for a gold card. It is a solid gold, 18-carat gold card. There you go. Absolutely amazing. This is the first in the world. Assuming you've got enough money in the bank, there is a limitless spending on this card. No transaction fees or foreign exchange fees. It will set you back, though, £18,750. Do you want it, Naga? Do you want it? She's already got a hand out.
The point being that it's a gold card, which is literally made of gold.
Made of gold, completely made of gold. So this is a new thing from the Royal Mint. They're obviously trying to move with the times. They want to kind of show that, in a cashless society, they can do something really impressive. So this is the card here. And it does have a chip on it, so you could put it in an ATM.
This is a fake, but I mean, not fake as in...
No, that's gold. That's real gold.
But it's not a real... it doesn't belong to someone.
No, I don't.
So by showing that
Mr.
number,
or
LM card holder is an actual
LM card holder is a real number.
So you buy this, and does it actually work in a cash point?
Well, would you put it in? Can you imagine? You'd be like, please come back. Please come back.
Is it contactless?
It's not, but can you imagine? You're not going to whip that out for a £30 purchase at Boots, are you?
Why?
Or maybe you
or
would.
any other retailer,
you get
of course.
immediately marked.
But well,
I think it's a little bit gross myself.
I tell you what,
a little bit
I
crass for
bet you
you.
see
It is
quite
a
a
bit,
few of those
really.
down at Sugar Hut. They're going to be champagne, everyone, aren't they?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
just
I
think
bet-
there's
I bet
something.
those
I
are
think
quite
it's a little
popular.
bit. I think it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit gross, really. But there you go.
Do you know?
I bet you end up with one of those at the bottom of your stocking.
Do you know? He's already got. He's already got one. He's already got one. He
I
just
think he's
doesn't
already
like
got
to
one on
brag.
order.
Doesn't like to brag. I'm quite happy to have it.
It's quite heavy, isn't it? Is that disappearing down the back of those trousers?
Thanks very much, Victoria.
I think Victoria's been on the
I'll
coffee.
be getting that back
early
from you,
this
Naga.
morning.
a little bit later.
Otherwise, I'll be in trouble.
See you a little bit later.
See you later.
6:52. So actors and performers sometimes like to make their views on things public. Sometimes they don't. You may remember in 2003, actor Keira Knightley joined protest marches against the Iraq War.
Quite timely, really, because now, for her latest role, she's playing a GCHQ whistleblower who tried to stop the invasion. It's called Official Secrets. It tells the story of Catherine Gunn, who exposed an operation by the US to blackmail members of the UN Security Council into authorising the war. She's been talking to Louise. Oh, I like that she's so open about that. She's written and spoken a lot about that, being a mum and on the sets and everything, and challenges, and it's great. It's great to see.
Juggling. That's what they call it. Is
And
juggling
calling out
rather.
all the smoke and mirrors as well.
Just a thought for you this morning. If you're watching, it's just before 7 o'clock, getting ready for school this morning. We are talking to Gavin Williamson, who's the Education Secretary. Big announcements about funding for schools this morning. A lot of question marks about the spending cuts that have been going on over the last 10 years or so. Like to know your experiences of your schools. If you're in the teaching profession, if you're a parent, just let us know what your school is like and how the funding is working out in a practical sense. I'd like to know those thoughts.
Please get in touch. Now, find out what's happening wherever you are in the country, and we'll see you at 7 o'clock.
Good morning. It's Friday, the 11th of October. Our top story today. The British and Irish Prime Ministers say they're on the pathway to a Brexit deal ahead of more talks today.
The Brexit Secretary, Stephen Barclay, will meet the EU's chief negotiator, Michel Barnier, later. Our Brussels questions. Adam, good to talk to you. Thanks for taking us through it all. Adam Fleming there in Brussels.
The BBC and the government need to find a way to save free TV licences for people over 75. That's according to a group of MPs.
The scheme comes to an end next year, and the Media Select Committee has criticised plans to only give free licences to those claiming pension credit. David Silito has more.
Yes, just a reminder, in a few minutes' time, we will be speaking to the former chairman of the BBC, Lord Grey. That's coming up in just a few minutes' time.
Fears are growing about a humanitarian. The winner of the Nobel Peace Prize will be announced later this morning. Now, nominees are not traditionally.
Those are the main stories this morning at 8 minutes past 7. If you meet someone today and you shake their hands, which is a sort of a convention, just how long do you spend in the handshake? At what point does it become uncomfortable?
What about for you?
It's a funny one, that. I think lingering a handshake is weird, to be honest. And that's what psychologists at university...
People showed higher levels of anxiety, but they noted that politicians, like perhaps in that meeting there with President Trump and Macron, they like these long handshakes.
Handshake technique. Let us know this morning. It's important to shake hands, though. Let's not put people off doing it altogether.
No.
Be mindful.
No, mindful, of course. It is 9 minutes past 7. Sarah's going to have the weather for us a little later on. But first, let's talk about a story we've been covering. The BBC and the government being told to find a way to keep free television licences for people over the age of 75.
You'll remember the corporation had agreed to fund the scheme as part of its new charter agreement, but now says it can't afford it. It was previously paid for by the government. Now a group of MPs says both sides need to get together, sort it out. Let's speak to someone who knows this business inside out this morning. Worth saying we're going to be speaking to Dame Esther Ranson a little later on. And please send us your thoughts as well about the BBC licence fee.
17 minutes past 7 is the time. Sarah is in Leeds at the UK's largest annual Arts and Lights Festival this morning. And there certainly is a lot of light around there glowing, lighting you up, Sarah. Morning.
As well from the day. Thank you very much, Dan. Really fascinating.
You've enjoyed that, haven't you? All
there
those
is something kind of
stories.
intriguing about seeing a bit of a place that you don't otherwise get access to.
25 past 7 is the time. A little later on in the programme, I think, at 7:45, we have Gavin Williamson on to talk about the latest proposals for school funding. Of course, he's the Education Secretary. So be interesting to get your views. You've still got a bit of time to get them through to see what you would ask him about where this funding, £7.1 billion worth of funding, you think where it should be going.
Yes, the suggestion from the government is the funds they're putting in now are sufficient to put the system back in place. And it's one of those issues we know from doing the story many, many times. It really gets people going because you'll be getting ready to go to school maybe this morning. Maybe you're in the teaching profession yourself. Really like to know your thoughts about how it's working in practice.
Find out now, though, what's happening wherever you are, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Hello, you're watching Breakfast with Charlie State and Naga Munchetty.
Time now is 7:29. Here's a summary of this morning's main stories from BBC News. The British and Irish Prime Ministers say they're on the pathway to a Brexit deal ahead of more talks today.
The Brexit, they believe it shows warmth and authority. To me, that just looked like a power struggle.
It did. So, OK, well, let's say I'm Pep Guardiola and you're Jurgen Klopp. Okay?
I'm ready.
So you go like this. So they go like that. And then they go, oh, they do a bit of this. It's like a little bit of whispering in the ear.
Did we all feel a little bit weird when that happened
any touchline.
Honestly, I felt so uncomfortable there.
It's taking the handshake further.
I have to go.
I didn't mind about that. I just felt what I felt uncomfortable was about how uncomfortable he was in that situation.
Can I just add to the handshake debate? Chris Eubank, have you ever met Chris Eubank? Because Chris Eubank has a habit. I don't think he knows he does it. He does a crusher. He's got extraordinary hand grip. He's a boxer. Yeah. And he does that thing where he just holds you and he looks straight at you and then he just crushes and looks and crushes and looks and holds it until and it's just.
And Naga, the Royal Mint called. They were watching an hour ago and they saw that solid gold debit card disappear down the back of your trousers.
Worth £19,000.
Worth £19,000 and they'd quite like it back.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know what really? OK.
I'm busy. Right. I'm busy prepping while you're...
The world's first ever solid gold card. I don't know how many of these they're going to sell, or was. They're going to have to make a replica now after Naga's pinched one of them. But yes, so there are no transaction fees for this, no foreign exchange fees. You're, of course, going to have to shell out for the card in the first place. But, it just goes to show that you don't need debit cards these days or credit cards made out of plastic, which is an interesting one for the Mint because they, of course, make all the coins in the country. I think she's sitting on it. Are we going to see it?
I don't want one of those gold cards.
You don't?
Absolutely not.
I'll show it. I'll show my gold card.
You'd be so worried about putting that in an ATM and never getting it back, wouldn't you?
Contactless.
It's not contactless, but it does have a chip.
It's not contactless?
No, it's
not.
For
£19,000 and it can't even be contactless. Seriously,
we'll speak to the Royal Mint. See
Seriously,
what they can do.
Come on, they can do better than that.
So there you go, the rarest.
How am I going to get my, packet of mints?
I don't know.
Contactless.
Victoria, thank you very much. Let's take a look at the weather this morning. Sarah's outdoors for us in the weather. We saw the brolly up earlier on in Leeds, where there's a wonderful festival going on. Tell us more. Yeah, let's turn our attention to the important issue of education. For years, teachers have been calling for more cash for schools. Last month, ministers announced they would increase spending by more than £7 billion by 2023.
Now, a breakdown of how the money will be spent in the first year has now been revealed. While the investment has been welcomed, campaigners have warned it isn't enough.
The Education Secretary, Gavin Williamson, joined